This sent shockwaves throughout the entire track and field community.
And off, and Quincy Wilson says, the legend continues.
I'll be going to the University of Maryland.
Welcome to the Trackfellaz Podcast, where we talk all things track and field. I'm your host, Herb Nichols, along with Jason Carson Harris and Daryl Young. Today, we are going to talk about Quincy Wilson's choice, where he's going to continue his academic and his athletic career. We're also going to talk about the return of Randolph Ross, a former 400-meter NCAA champion. We're going to talk about the women's 100-meter schedule at the upcoming 2028 Olympics. But first, we are going to talk about the 2025 cross-country championships. A lot of history that happened on the women's side, but I'm going to give you guys a rundown real quick. The championships occurred November 22nd, 2025 in Columbia, Missouri. The men's champion was Oklahoma State. On the women's side, North Carolina State won. I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm just going to say his last name. Samuels from New Mexico won with a time of 28:33, which is 9th all time. On the women's side, Doris from Alabama won with a time of 18:25, which is the fastest time ever ran on the women's side.
Smoking.
And also to add to the women's side, this was the fastest cross-country race of all time. 29 of the top 32 times was ran in this race. Some say it contributed to the flat layout of this course paired with like some good weather they had. But nevertheless, this was the fastest race of all time. But that's really not the story. The story was the recruiting and how some people were talking about the foreign-born runners that are participating in cross country and if it's ruining the NCAA. Jason, I'm gonna get your thoughts on this specific subject.
Gotcha. Yeah, the controversy that came up this year was that out of the top 20 finishers in the NCAA cross-country championships, only 2 were American-born. And so it brought up a lot of issues with coaches. There was a little actual back and forth online of track and field coaches, something you normally that you don't see amongst college coaches going back and forth, but a huge debate about, is it cheating to get foreign recruits to come to your college? Specifically, we're going to say African-born. If you want to get more specific, we'll say Kenyan-born, which typically in the Olympics, when you have longer distances, they pretty much dominate the events. And this year seemed to be one of those ones where it stood out specifically, where there were a huge amount of foreign-born finalists that won. And so coaches were upset about that. But for me, it was a little bit unique because, going back to when our group finished college in the early 2000s, it wasn't rare to see foreign, and I'll just say African descent runners dominating in the cross country field. And I did a little bit of research to find that if you look back the last 2 decades, there's always been some type of Kenyan-born runner, at least in the top 10, sometimes 2 or 3 in the top 10. And more specifically, you'll see back-to-back years of a Kenyan descent runner winning the championship. It was kind of ironic that it would come out this year, that it was such an issue. But in the grand scheme of things, I would say one of the biggest things that I would say personally, cross country isn't a exciting sport for Americans in general. When it comes to those long distance races and cross country specifically, you don't get a lot of excitement for them. A lot of American-born runners want to run the 2, the 100, the 400, and it falls off as you go on further distances. To see this wasn't really shocking to me in the grand scheme of things. But would love to hear your guys' take on it.
Daryl?
As far as like foreign recruiting is concerned, it doesn't sway me in either direction because that's kind of like the norm, and it has been for quite a while. Especially when it comes to just distance running as a in general. Like it can even like spill over into like the actual track, where like for years the most dominant athletes in those longer distances have been folks that were not American. You know what I mean? So to see like the sheer dominance when it comes to like distance, whether it's cross country or just, longer distance on the track, it doesn't surprise me at all. And I don't really have a issue with, American schools like recruiting, folks from overseas, whether it's Africa or across the pond in Europe, because it only can help the sport, it only makes it for a better product. I kind of compare it to like, look at the NBA and like how foreign athletes are like, I don't like the more dominant. Well, I'm not going to say the most dominant, but like, for example, like Luka Doncic, with the Lakers, you know what I mean? Victor Wembanyama, you know what I mean? So it only like helps the sport. It helps, make a much better product. So I like it. I'm here for it.
Just wanted to read a couple stats, and I'm going to tell you why I think I'm kind of like on the line with this. In this year's race, 38 of the top 50 athletes were born outside of the United States. 29 of the top 50 were born in Kenya. 31 of 63 athletes were foreign born that crossed the finish line. 38% of all the women in the field were foreign born. That's not really the part that really stood out. This is the part right here. There's a lot of these foreign born athletes that are coming from over the continent of Africa. And the age is what kind of gets me. There was a guy named Solomon from Washington State.
29.
He came in as a freshman at 28 years old, and he had several professional races before that. So they're seeing this trend of not just foreign born, but just getting these athletes who are almost 30 years old, but they're 26, 27, 28 years old. I guess I can see where people may get a little upset when we're talking about it. 'Cause I just heard you talk about the NBA. Well, the NBA is a professional sport.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're comparing that to the NCAA, it's slightly different because now we're talking about giving these guys and these women scholarships and taking a spot away from someone who just came from high school or JUCO or whatever the case may be. I think that's the only part I would argue. I have no problem with recruiting foreign-born runners. There's no secret that the best distance runners come from these African nations, Morocco and Algeria and Kenya. We already know that that's what they do over there. However, you start filling up your team with these experienced runners. Now it's almost like these younger guys don't even get an opportunity to go to these certain schools because the rosters are filled up with essentially professional runners.
Yeah.
The NIL is a great idea, but it's become a problem because there's nobody governing the rules or anything with NIL. That's just making it worse for these foreign-born runners coming over here because now it's like beforehand the rule was if you are a professional runner and you are going to college, you had to give up all the money that you earned as a professional. I don't think it's like that anymore because these quote-unquote amateur athletes are making money now. So they don't have to give up any type of money. So it's a little easier grabbing these guys. These guys have been in the Diamond League. They've been running overseas. They have races and races and races on a professional level. And then they're mature. So really, when they come over here, there's really no developing these runners. Compared to, you get a freshman from some high school, and now, you're on the development kind of program there, right? No, these guys are coming in and, they're NCAA champions or they're top 2, top 3. And not saying that it's impossible to beat them. BYU has proven that. I think BYU has an all-American squad, if I'm not mistaken. And, they're top 10 almost every year. But that would be the only issue that I would say as far as recruiting. I don't think it's ruining the NCAA, but it's definitely giving the NCAA something to think about when it comes to recruiting foreign-born runners. And again, I don't have no problem with it. Like you said, when we were in college, Norfolk State, because we ran in the MEAC division, and Norfolk State from Norfolk, Virginia, was almost unbeatable in cross country because their whole entire squad were Africans. Let's just be honest. And there was just nothing that you could do with them. So I don't have a problem with that. But the recruiting side can get a little tricky when you're talking about athletes that are more experienced, don't need development, and frankly, are kind of holding a scholarship or a spot on the team that somebody else could have. So I don't know if you guys think anything different than that.
No, I mean, you just pretty much educated me when it came to like the age of the recruits. I didn't know these folks were like, coming in at like pretty much in their physical prime, like mid to like, late 20s. So that would, make me feel a certain type of way when it comes to the age of the individuals. And I agree with you when you said like, I don't have a problem with recruiting from African countries or just overseas, period. But there has to be some kind of, like I said, governing body that like puts a cap on the actual age of the folks that they're bringing in. And yeah, that's 100% not fair. I'm just speaking on myself. Y'all would agree as well. What if we had a cross country meet? Herb, I know that was not your favorite thing to do, but like, we lining up and, this kid next to me and Jason, 27, 28 years old. I'm, we, 18, 19, 20, not even fully developed. I would 100% feel a certain type of way. I would even go as far as like, man, they cheating, but if
and not just how old he is, just the fact that this guy is experienced. I mean, he can be old. He can be 26, 27, and you can still give him all the work out there on the field. But if this guy is coming in 27 years old, he already has 7 years of professional experience. That kind of puts you in a bind there because it's not like you can beat him, but the likelihood of you being able to really compete with this guy is kind of like low.
My only kickback to it, and I do agree with some of the points that y'all have made. I mean, to stand up as a freshman on a cross country meet against essentially a man is unfair. But what the NCAA has done has made it possible, not only just in this realm, and I'll say with the African descent countries, I think it's a little difficult with their age situation because sometimes you can't find the birth certificate, and then it makes it difficult to determine what their age is, because some will actually say I'm 22, 23, but you look at their face and they're great, their beard's fully grown in, and you're like, are you really? But also when you look at other sports, and I'll say football specifically, you have the ability to now in the NCAA to redshirt and gain extra years on your career as a college athlete. So I know there's some football players in the NCAA now who are in their mid-20s because they've redshirted so many years. And even though they didn't play in their previous years on the field in actual games, they still have been able to go to meetings, watch film, do practices, and so on and so forth. So they are still gaining that experience. So yes, I agree that the age is an issue, but the NCAA has to kind of find a middle ground that makes sense overall, because having older athletes, they're actually trending towards that, because with the NIL, people want to make money in college because the likelihood of you being professional, we talked about this in our previous podcast, it's unlikely that you're going to be a pro in your sport when you're a college athlete. But now you can actually make money in college as an amateur. And if it means that you have to sit out a few years and be a little older and be a little more experienced, dude, I would do it. So, how does the NCAA govern that? I think it becomes difficult. Like an age cap is tough because some people can not go to college right out of high school. They may take a year off or whatnot, and then they'll still be a little older, maybe more experienced. But then if you say, oh, you have to be a freshman at 19 or 18 years old, but you took a year off for several different reasons. Could have been family reasons, could have been whatever the case may be. And then you're to a point where you're not meeting their standards. It's a tough situation, but as the coaches are kind of arguing about, if you don't like the rules, man, you got to figure out a way to change them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anything we need to add to that part?
I don't think so.
I mean,
go ahead, there.
The only thing I could say is more so of a question, because I thought at one point or another, and maybe this doesn't pertain to track and field and cross country, but I thought at one point or another, if you turn pro, that cancels out your collegiate eligibility. Or am I wrong?
More.
Yes, I'm saying I thought that was a thing at one point or another.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what in track and field is different, because what really defines you turning pro? Because at the end of the day, NIL has almost canceled amateurs,
yeah,
the amateur label, because they're getting paid. They have agents, and getting the agent was that defining entity of if you're going to go pro or not. The old way of doing things, the minute that you got an agent, you sacrifice your eligibility in college. It's not like that anymore because all these guys got agents now, trying to get their NIL deals. They're getting paid. They got contracts. So it's completely different than any other sport. But the NIL has just changed the dynamics of how you're moving forward with professional and amateur sports. I don't even know if there is amateur sports anymore, not with everybody having the opportunity to get paid.
Yeah, you answered with the question I was going to ask pretty much. Like what defines a professional? Well, professional. And I was going to say getting paid, but NIL, like you said, just canceled all that out. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And the last thing with that is I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't really cross country isn't the biggest thing for me. But the minute that I looked on the women's side, I need to know what type of course that was. For almost every single woman in that field, jumped on that top 32 spot of all time. That was insane to me. 1925, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
She was blazing, and it was a nice day. It was a course friendly race, primarily flat, and that's what helped. A lot of these fast times out here, but yeah, she was blazing, no question.
Yeah, that's absolutely rolling.
And then I'm looking at the list, and I had to count and recount. I'm like, hold on, wait, am I saying this right? The 32 top times in the NCAA of all time, 29 of them was in one race.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, to speak on it just real quickly, the cross country championships are run in November. They're not always run in the most, pleasurable locations. Sometimes they're in north, sometimes they're running in the snow. The temperatures could be, freezing. So the times aren't always the fastest at the championship. Sometimes you get regional times that are faster, but yeah, it definitely was a crazy day. And sometimes it just pans out that way. But yeah, that's a shocking number for it to be that many people breaking that record.
All right. Well, moving on. I think this subject everybody been wanting to talk about. Mr. Quincy Wilson, the phenom out of Bullis High School. I believe it was on Monday, the 24th. He chose the University of Maryland out of USC, UCLA, Texas A&M, and South Carolina. And he chose the University of Maryland. This sent shockwaves throughout the entire track and field community. We all have something to say. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor because I know everybody has a lot to talk about. If it was a good decision, if it was a bad decision, why we think he chose the University of Maryland out of these other established schools. So the floor is open.
I'll start off, and I'll be real quick. I'm sure we'll have many takes on this. For those of you who actually watched the ceremony, like this was a unique event. To do a college decision. His high school coach spoke. I think that really defined a lot of his decision. The fact that his parents moved to Maryland for him to be coached by him. The way he spoke about him and their connection was, I think, really the defining moment. And at the end of the day, he's probably still going to be coached by his high school coach while he's in college, however long that will be. And to be close to home, I mean, he said he can get his mom's cooking. He can hang out with his friends, the whole nine. I think that was the primary factor for him to stay, the closeness to family, friends, and I would say his coach. Was it a good decision? I think only time will tell. He definitely will lose out on a lot of things not going to a school that has all the resources, all the money, all the whatever you need when you're a track athlete. But, I like the fact he went to Maryland because we from Maryland.
Obviously, just like all of us, and like you said, majority, if not all, the track and field community was shocked. I think out of the 5 schools, I thought maybe Texas A&M, would have been the choice that he was going to make. So for him to be going to, UMD, College Park, shocked, floored me. But I actually think it was a good idea, and here's why. So yes, he's going to obviously still be, close to home. Like I said, he's going to be clearly coached by the guy that's gotten in the 44-10. Before the age of 18. That's a no-brainer. So that'd be good for him as well. But I think it's going to boost Maryland's program. It's gonna be now an attractive place for athletes to, want to run, especially like, short sprinters or long sprinters, quarter milers, 200, 100, et cetera. Because who wouldn't want to like run with this high school phenom? It's only going to bring in more money. So as far as like NIL is concerned, as far as like the resources, I think, University of Maryland is no slouch when it comes to like, academics and athletics. It's just the fact that no one, Maryland's not known for track and field because they just really haven't had, top tier program. But I think the resources are there. I mean, we've all been to College Park and we've seen like their facilities. Like the resources are there. The money's clearly there. I mean, they're going to have gear out the game. They already do. It's just like we just don't see that stuff because Maryland just hasn't really been, a spot that those top tier athletes have gone to. And then not to mention, he also has a fire coach too. Was Andrew Valman.
Yep.
Olympian.
Yeah. Olympian. Gold medalist. Yeah. 4x4.
And guess what? In what event?
The quarter mile.
Yes, the 400.
Yeah, and he's still current world record holder in that discipline. So between his current coach and his will be new head coach and the athletes that will be attracted to that school, I think it was a hell of a decision.
I thought that Maryland made sense. I thought he was going to, in my heart, I thought he was going to go to USC. You have the sun, good weather, and you had Quincy Watts, who's coaching the team. And, Quincy is an established guy. He's one of the greatest quarter milers ever, but he's a good coach. So I thought he was going to go to USC originally, but I thought that Maryland made more sense. The only thing he's sacrificing going to Maryland, in my opinion, is the fact that it's not down south or on the West Coast where the sun is out all the time. Mm. Other than that, he's not missing out on anything, in my opinion. Quincy Wilson is what you call a unicorn. He's a generational athlete. He's a once in a lifetime. Typically, when you recruit an athlete, you recruit based off of your team's need. That's not the case with Quincy. You are recruiting Quincy to change your program. Now, I think this choice was the best choice to make because it allows him to be himself. His coaching is working. It's not broke. There's no need to fix it. He runs 44.10, but his people don't talk about the range. He's a 150, 800 meter runner.
Yep.
He runs one of the best 600 meters in the world. He runs one of the best 500 meters in the world. The man runs 21.0 indoor, and he's probably going to be a sub 20 second 200 meter guy. He's going to be a 43 400 meter guy. His range is out of this world. And the coaching is working. Every single year, he's getting faster. So to think that he's losing out going to USC or going to South Carolina, absolutely not. And if you think that his coach isn't going to coach him, then, I don't know what else you're looking at. Because I believe that Quincy is here because of his family, because he feels more comfortable here. And his coach is here. And his coach is going to be able to coach him whenever the Maryland coach allows him to. He'll be able to get coached personally by his coach. I promise you, none of the teammates on the University of Maryland roster will say a single word if they see Quincy practicing somewhere else 2 to 3 days out the week. I promise you, because you just don't get a chance to run with a guy like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that somebody like that, I think if it's anybody else, you want that chemistry with the team. I don't think he's going to miss out on team exercises and team practices, but he's absolutely going to get that personal coach as well. And he's allowed to do that. He chose your school. It wasn't the other way around, and University of Maryland has been in the bottom of the Big Ten the past 3-4 years. And I saw somewhere where they're averaging 6.3 points as a team in the Big Ten championships. Quincy alone is going to give you at least 20 of that. Mm-hmm. So he's going to change your program. He's not here to for you guys to build. No, he's changing the program. By next year, there's going to be probably about 3 elite high school runners that's going to sign. And not to mention out the portal. He still has a whole senior year to go. So after this year, everybody's going to jump in the portal. And University of Maryland, they're not going to contend with a national championship team title-wise, but they're going to have one of the best 4x4s in the country just because he's there. So, I say all that to say I think this decision of going to Maryland is absolutely one of the best decisions. It allows him to kind of make his own path in track and field. Texas A&M is not missing Quincy. USC is not missing Quincy. UCLA is not missing Quincy Wilson. Does he make them better? Yes. but they're not missing Quincy. University of Maryland absolutely needed that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And to think that Under Armour is not going to kind of boost what they already give them, that's ridiculous to me. Because I think Under Armour is going to absolutely back them 100%. I think the boosters, not to jump off another subject, but when you're talking about NIL, there's the collective and then there's the NIL deals. It's like two separate things. Now, the collective, which is the money that University of Maryland has, they do need to kind of step their game up as far as trying to get the boosters and stuff together, whatever. But Quincy already has a deal with like New Balance and all this stuff.
Yeah,
like he's not missing out on money. Maryland doesn't have to give him a generational bag. I heard somebody say that. That's false. He's already getting paid. So this decision was based off of what he wanted to do.
What he wanted to do.
Not because University of Maryland gave a generational bag. Absolutely not. Now, is he going to get something from Maryland? Absolutely. That money is more so is going to be given to this other athletes that they're trying to pull over. That's the hard part is now that we have Quincy, who else can we bring over? Because our timetable is limited. We don't know if Quincy is going to be here a year or two. Nobody knows that. So you guys can hear the excitement. I mean, I am super excited. I'm from the state of Maryland, so I'm glad he's here. I'm glad that he's here to change the program. It's been a long time since Maryland actually had a full team, and I can't wait till the next guy. There've already been about 2 commits who have kind of changed their mind, but not verbally on where they're going to go. And I'm thinking that they're going to come back home to Maryland to run. So I'm excited about it. You know, I can't wait. I think it was one of the best moves that he could have made, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, I think like there's a couple things you said that made me think, specifically the part where he's not missing out. He's not missing anything by going to Maryland. Just think about it. He's already run 44.10 in the 400 in high school with high school resources.
Mm-hmm.
He's only going to get better. Now he's like I said, he's going to get coached by his high school coach and also with the assistance of his new coach, Coach Valman. But just think about all the resources that Maryland has, like the facilities, like the trainers. You know what I mean? And like the diet and all that good stuff. Like he's only going to get better because he's doing this with high school resources. So going to somewhere that has like top tier, facilities and support and treatment and trainers, he's only going to get better. I'm just as excited, if not more, than you are, just to see like what his progression is going to look like. Because he's going to get this, he's going to get better wherever he went. Like I said, what was it, USC, UCLA, Texas A&M, South Carolina, so on and so forth. But and another point that I agree with is that he did what he wanted to do. Because he's going to excel. We already know that. But he gets to stay home and be close to family and be around love, but still getting the college experience on a big level. Yeah, I love it, and I just can't wait till dang, I was about to say indoor, but he's still a senior. We got to wait a whole another year. But I can't wait.
I know, but that's just giving more time to those athletes that want to jump in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to finish out the year and then jump right in the portal. And Maryland is going to get some names in here.
Mm-hmm.
Really, all they need. I mean, be honest, it's going to be a completely different 4x4 than what they previously had. I think they had a pretty decent 4x4 last year, but I don't think we're going to see any of the original members there. I think we're going to see 2 transfers on that relay and a freshman. I promise you. And then we're going to have Quincy. So, we'll definitely see with that. How do you think that impacts like this move right here, Quincy going to the University of Maryland? How does that impact the NCAA and the Big Ten?
Question. And I'll hop in really quick and y'all can chew me up afterward. The comment I made about resources and facilities and money and whatnot, I made that comment kind of considering these other schools, USC, UCLA, and I'm specifically thinking about a school like Oregon, who is track-based. You know what I mean? You go there, you walk through the hallways, you see the past Olympians. They come to the school every now and again. And it's just a whole different vibe you get. Unfortunately, Maryland doesn't have that. Track is an individual sport versus a football or basketball where you kind of feed off of each other to win a game or feed off each other to, get through adversity. Within track, you don't have to do that. You kind of just, everything is within yourself. And that's why you see so many athletes that will come from Division II or junior colleges and make it to the pros and excel and go on and beyond. My thing is, I say time will tell, because we'll see if there's any impact of him not being around those type of environment where there are pros, high class athletes, high level track facilities. And not saying that Maryland doesn't have it, just comparably, they're definitely on a lower tier. But I think that Quincy going here will definitely throw a wrench in the bar of the Big Ten. And the fact that if he can go there, and there are other, Quincy definitely generational, but there are other athletes kind of like right beneath him, maybe like one step down, who are still kind of, hitting these high quality times. They're making these high quality teams. They're going to the Junior Olympics and all kind of big things and making names for themselves. And they will be able to, if they can get these NIL deals in high school, which I think some of them are really close to doing, they can now make those decisions of going anywhere they want to. Mm-hmm. Other Big Ten schools like Maryland that may not necessarily be on the upper tier can now start to get a better quality athletes, making it more competitive. And again, there's some teams that are going to stay at the top just because they are who they are. But those second, third place teams can definitely start making noise by having these other athletes who can come there and say, hey, I don't need all these facilities. I just need to be close to home. I need my coach that helped me get to where I am now and help me excel going further.
Yeah, I do agree with that take. That's a hell of a take, actually. I think as far as like the Big Ten is concerned, well, Maryland's not going to change that a whole lot. I don't think, this is just an opinion, but I don't think that, team success was a determining factor for Quincy, because if that was the case, then he definitely would not have gone to Maryland. Yes, their quarter mile program will probably improve like tremendously. Like you said, Herb, their 4x4 is probably going to be, I'm just throwing it out there, this is my take, a year in advance, but I probably see them being like a top 5 or top 10, 4x4 relay in the country. As far as like depth across the board, I don't see them like, knocking on the door to winning championships. So I don't see them really impacting the Big Ten that much. But as far as like, those relays are concerned, they're gonna tear some stuff up. So like I said, I don't really see like, across the board being that impactful or really shaking anything up besides like, having a fire quarter mile program.
Yeah. As far as Big Ten, I think anytime you come from last place to even the middle of the pack, I think that's an impact. How one athlete can change a team that, you're talking about an average of 6.3 points in the conference championship. That means they haven't had a single winner, a champion on the men's side in years. For them to be in the single digits on average is insane to me. So the impact on the Big Ten does change, in my opinion, because now you possibly have the Big Ten champion in the 400. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but if he continues the progression that he's been going, it's not a lot of runners in the NCAA that can beat him. Not a lot. Mm-hmm. He's not unbeatable, but there's not a lot of runners that can beat him. So if he's on top form, he's possibly could be the 400 meter champion, which changes things in my opinion. He's probably going to bring another couple 400 meter guys with him. So they may have the champion and maybe a third place guy. The relay team, the 4x4, they are going to be on a projection to possibly win this thing. Bullis went 3:06 and he ran 43 seconds. Imagine that 43 with another 44. Right. And another 44 and a 45 or something, which is possible.
Yeah.
So that's going to affect the NCAA, because what if, and this is just assuming, what if you have somebody like, and I'm just using his name because he's one of my favorite runners, but Ahmad from A&M. What if Ahmad left and came to Maryland? I'm just saying, stuff like that happens, especially when you can pretty much stay in college as long as you want now. So instead of that fifth year and you stay with the team or whatever, you go down to University of Maryland and run with Quincy, it's possible. So, I'm not saying it's an impact that's shaking up stuff, but it can take a couple players from this team, from that team, or, now you see, you never saw Maryland, now you see them on the national scene. So it changes things up just slightly. So for me, there is an impact on an NCAA level and the Big Ten level, but it's not a huge impact. Big Ten is probably a bigger impact than anything, because when you're a champion, that's a big deal to me, especially when they're not used to having stuff like that. Matter of fact, while I'm on the subject, I just saw that the 400 meter record was like 46:19. Quincy right now would have the 400 meter, the 500 meter, the indoor 200 meter, all that would be Maryland records. So he's going to completely rewrite the history books at the University of Maryland without even trying.
That's actually a good point because, like I said, from how many points?
6.3.
6.3 points. So, yeah, that's crazy. But but Quincy, say like he comes in, wins the 400 Big Ten championship. Then, like you said, brings in a couple other pieces like to have a fire relay. Now that's a few other points there, and 200 meters, more points there, and then like you said, like a third place guy. You know what I mean? 2 and a 4 maybe. You know what I mean? A few more points there. So all those little points they add up. Then at the end of the year, now it's like, okay, we did this with just sprinters. We're just a couple pieces away, and we might mess around with some hardware. You know what I mean? So I can see what you mean. Like it's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight. Hopefully he gives us a couple years at least where they can actually put some pieces around them so they can actually contend for a championship.
Yeah.
Like I said, they don't even have to be like a crazy depth. Because remember, it's crazy. I'm thinking about this because we actually going to talk about this individual a little later. What A&T did, they almost contended for a freaking national championship with just sprints. like everything from the 1 to 2. 400, 4x4, 4x1. They literally contended for a championship with just sprinters. It doesn't even have to be like, they have to have this crazy depth, but like just, it starts with him and then add these little pieces. And then who knows, we can have this same conversation about Maryland, a few years down the line, which would be crazy to think about that actually could compete, but it's going to take time. But like I said, I'm excited to see what will happen.
Yeah. Again, I'm excited and I can't wait. So that's going to be, and I think off the break, his freshman year, he's going to come in and he's going to change the record books in University of Maryland. I think he's going to grab a couple championships. The way that everybody been kind of doing it recently is kind of 1 year and done. I mean, Sydney did it. LaShawn Merritt, he actually only stayed for a freshman indoor season. Then he became pro afterwards. I know the NIL wasn't there back in the day, so they're kind of chasing the money. Quincy isn't, and he does seem a little different. He seems a little more humbler as far as like, he wants to kind of enjoy the experience rather than just going pro. I mean, he's not going to miss out on Olympics. He's not going to miss out on any championships just because you're in college. He's proven that already in high school. My last thought about it, I'm curious on how they're going to run him since he runs the 800 too. Are they going to go for that too? Is he going to run a couple 8s? Is he going to run a couple 6s or 5s? I mean, the 600s really don't, you don't really see that too often, but there's definitely 500 indoor. So I'm curious to see them balance his range as far as that. And I'm curious to see about the 200. I want to know how fast he can go because 21-0 in high school is fast.
Now that you mentioned that, I was just thinking about it, how excited you were, you saying, and I was thinking about the first indoor meet will probably be at Sports and Learning Complex. But with him, they may go to more competitive meets at this point. And
that's the impact. That's part of the impact. There's absolutely no way you're going to see Quincy at some regular track meet unless it's just a tune-up track meet.
Right.
You're not going to see him. They're going to be so strategic because first of all, they don't want to mess this thing up. They know that.
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say this earlier, but typically when you recruit somebody, right, you recruit the athlete and they have to buy into your school and they have to buy into your training. And then they have to buy into what the coaches say. And if that doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But this is completely different. And, people can disagree with me and that's fine. But this is not, is Quincy going to buy into the program? No, because he doesn't need your program. So, how are they going to kind of make sure that he's running what he needs to run, but also kind of give him that comfort level of like not trying to do too much, because there's a fine line. You don't want to lose somebody like that either, especially for University of Maryland, which is a different school because they're not used to the success. So, how are they going to run this guy? I'm pretty sure that his high school coach is going to kind of help out with the development and help out with the scheduling. As far as, I think he should probably run the Open 5 at this track meet. promise you, and those who don't think that it's going to happen, I don't see what you guys are saying, because I think he's going to absolutely be a part of the program.
I want to ask you a question, because obviously we know he's going to run the 400, but he also I won't say that's his specialty. That he specializes in the 400, but he also very successful in the 2. He's successful in the 8. 2 indoors and 150 PR outdoors for the 8. Most runners usually have 2 events. They have their marquee event and a second, whether it's the 1 and the 2, or the 2 and the 4, 8 and the mile, or so have you. Which second event do you think they're gonna focus on? Is it going to be the 2 or the 8? Which brings you back to the question: how are they going to run it?
I think the 200, because I think even though his range is amazing, I think they know that the 400 meter dash is going to be his specialty.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's without a doubt. So trying to improve on it. Every 400 meter runner needs a good 200, and he's running a good 200, but he can improve. And so I think they're going to try to work on foot speed. I mean, they're going to do a little bit of everything, but I think they're going to work on foot speed a little more, the sprinting aspect of the race, get that 200 meter down. The 400 is hard to even critique somebody who was a teenager and ran 43 seconds as a split, or 44.10. I don't know what else. So many people across the world is talking about how his form needs to change. And I'm one of these guys that I think form is everything. Mm-hmm. However, this is not just some regular guy we're talking about. He just ran 44.10 with the form that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that guy. I go to Penn Relays every single year. I saw him split 43 with that same form that you guys don't like. Everybody always wants to improve something, but if it's working, I'm not saying he can't improve on his game. But what I am saying is whatever he's doing is working.
Uh-huh.
So I think little stuff like that, I don't think it's as important as what some people make it seem. I don't think if you correct his form or make his form different, I don't think he runs 42 seconds. That's just my opinion.
I'm one of them people. I'm right along there with you. Like I'm a stickler for form, but when it comes to this guy, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And of course we can improve on it and work on it and whatnot, but it's 44.10. That's all I got to say. Like, he's ran 44.10 with that form. So yeah, will it get better? Probably. If not, so what? This kid is incredible.
All right. Next thing up, the women's 100 meter scheduling change at the 2028 Olympics. This Olympics, they're going to see every round on the first day to include the finals. That's been making some big news. I'm not sure if there's like a poll out there that's saying, if people like it or not. I've been only seeing negative things online, but I've been reading on the reasons why, and I get it. I don't think we're going to know if it's a good or bad thing until it actually happens.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's one of those time will tell things. I hate it personally. I mean, it's not only does it sacrifice like the excitement of the race, because you're racing 4 races in one day, the likelihood of someone breaking a record or running a phenomenal time is drastically decreased. So that messes up. And the fact that someone can get injured because they have to run so many times, you have to warm up for each race and cool down. You're just killing the athletes in that sense. And also too, just one little tidbit I want to add about the Olympics. I just realized this recently. It's actually going to be earlier than it normally is. The Olympics normally start the last week in July and go into the first or the second weekend of August. But this year, or 2028, they're going to have it start right in the middle of July. And it's going to end at the end of July. So it's like a day or two shorter than it normally is. They say it's going to be because of the schools they're using. They need their facilities back by the time August hits. I think that plays a role into it as well. But it definitely, the whole schedule of top to bottom for the Olympics is killing me. But this thing with the women, I hate it. And the fact that they're doing the men's literally a day later, I don't understand why they can't just tack it on to the men's final the way they're doing the men's final.
Yeah. I think as far as like from the fans' point of view, they're going to love it. They're going to, they get to see, from start to finish, prelims to finals all in one day. They don't really, the average, fair weather fan doesn't know how tasking that is on an athlete's body. So they probably don't feel from the fans' point of view, they probably don't feel a certain type of way. If anything, they're probably excited. Me personally, I do not like it at all. Because, like, again, we know what kind of toll that puts on an athlete's body. Like, this is not high school. Like, this is not a Junior Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Or like your regular, like, USA track and field, like Boys and Girls Club track meet, where you're running, and they don't even do that in Boys and Girls Club. Like, not 3 or 4 rounds in one day, maybe 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, the semis and the prelims and finals. So we're talking about professionals. That you're asking professionals to run. Was it 3 or 4 rounds?
Was that? I'm sorry.
It's
3 or 4 rounds.
It's 4 rounds. It's the prelims, round one.
I think you have the heat, semis, and the finals, right?
Yeah, I believe like round 1, prelims, semis, then
finals. It might be 3 rounds.
3 or 4. That's crazy to ask someone to do that all in one day. Between the hours of 9 a.m. to 8:20, I believe. It's a lot. I just pray that the athletes train accordingly so they can get their bodies prepared for that big ask. As someone that's run at a semi-high level before and knows what it takes to go through something like that, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a lot to ask of a person. And I would like things to stay the way that it is, but I don't make the rules. I just hope for the best.
Yeah, see, I got 2 things. This is another subject where, like, the fence is here. I get the logic of the decision. They're trying to highlight the women, and they're trying to kind of make it exciting. So you're going to see every single thing in one day instead of like, oh man, Sha'Carri and such and such, they didn't went through the rounds, and she got lane 4 and she's going to be in the finals tomorrow, and now we got to go to sleep and wake up, and not every single thing is going to, all the rounds, heats, prelim, semis, the finals in one day. So the build up is going to be probably the biggest build up we've ever seen, because it's just like we can turn on the TV. We don't have to wait until tomorrow. So I get that part. But my question was, were the athletes involved in this decision making? Was it just a thing where they were trying to get viewers? I don't understand how so many athletes are upset about this, where I feel like a decision like this should have been made involving some of the athletes. But again, I don't even want to say that I hate it now, because what if it works? What if it works? What if we don't see it? We don't see the times affected because they all ran in one day. So what if everything works out? It's exciting. All the athletes that we thought that were going to be in the finals made it to the finals. We see a fast time. Then they're going to look like a bunch of geniuses out there, because they're going to have the viewership and they're going to have performances. So as of right now, I think the biggest thing is athletes' preparation. The way you train is going to be a little different now. So you're going to have to, you got time now. You're going to have to train your body to run 3 rounds in one day. And so these athletes are going to have to kind of change their routine. And the good thing is, they were told in advance, so it's not a shock to nobody. So they should have enough time to kind of get their stuff together. The last thing I wanted to say was, it does affect people doubling in certain events. So that is the other negative side to this. I'm curious to see how people are going to work that out as well.
They also changed the schedule, which is going to affect Sydney. She wants to double in the open 4 and the 400-meter hurdles. And I think the way they have it set up now is like almost within an hour, she'll have to run 1 round of each, the 400 meters and the hurdles. So yeah, I mean, Herb, I think you make some good points in terms of preparation is key. Is it possible? I'm sure it is. I'm sure deep down, these athletes can figure out how to do it. The times, to me, I think will be affected one way or another. But, again, see if they prepare properly. But it's going to be a unique change, I would say. This kind of goes back to the last podcast in regards to athletes, where women are definitely being highlighted more, and they get a lot of attention. These female athletes across the board, not just track and field, but we're speaking about track and field here. They are bringing excitement to the sport. They have the big names. They are bringing the sponsors. They are bringing the viewership. So with them kicking off, and literally this is almost like the first day of the Olympics too. That's another big change. Normally track starts like a week after they have the opening ceremony. The women's will run the day after the opening ceremony for track. And this is kicking off the whole track portion of the Olympics. So, looking forward to it, to say the least. Can't necessarily agree with it, but, they definitely do have time to prepare for it.
It should be.
I'm kind of like you heard. I'm on both sides of the fence. From the fan in me, I like it because you get to see it all happen quick. You don't have to wait a couple days just to see the next round, and then a couple more days for the next round. So that part is exciting. Just and then you did ask a good question, like were the athletes involved in this decision? I'm going to go ahead and just say no, because I don't think anybody would have signed up for that or suggested that change be made. Should the athletes be involved in a decision like that? Yes, but like I said, I don't make the rules. And then also, like, I hope those times aren't negatively impacted. And I just hope that the athletes, like you said, train accordingly, because they're gonna have to recover. They got some short recovery times, as we all know.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get their bodies used to that those amount of reps. Like, and we're not talking about like practice reps. Like they going balls to the wall 3-4 different times in the same day. Just hopefully they train accordingly, get their bodies used to it, and we'll see how it goes.
And look, on a funny note, how about those women who are only there for the 100-meter dash? What if their whole entire Olympics is one day? just one day. What if you didn't even make it through? Matter of fact, what if you made to the finals and you made to the finals, you placed 4th or 3rd, and you don't even have a relay to run on? That was the event. You came there for one day.
That was one day. Your Olympic experience all in one day.
Yeah. Probably a total of 38, 39 seconds of work. Yeah. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
But we're going to go to our last subject of the day. We've been trying to add something about HBCUs to every episode. And today we're going to be talking about former North Carolina A&T national champion, Randolph Ross. He was suspended 3 years ago for multiple doping violations, which were, I believe they were all whereabouts. And he also doctored up some email that was supposed to be sent to WADA, and they got him with that too. So he is actually about to come back, and his suspension is over. When he was first suspended, I'm curious because I'm not sure if we talked about this, but I'm curious on how you guys felt about it. Because I know I felt some type of way, but how did you guys feel when y'all first heard the news? This kid from North Carolina A&T ran 43 seconds in the 400. He was a part of A&T's national champion 4x14. He was on Team USA, and then out of nowhere, suspended for 3 years.
It was crazy because it happened right before World Championships. And he was team. Like that was, you expected him to go out there, make some big moves. He already had a gold medal in the 4x4. He's looking to do bigger things at the World Championships, and all of a sudden he's gone out of nowhere. And then they're kind of doing the investigation. So it was definitely heartbreaking. We're talking about HBCUs. In the grand scheme of things, we don't produce a lot of Olympic champions. We don't produce a lot of professional track athletes. And to see someone winning the championship from a HBCU, first and foremost, as a 400-meter champion, and they broke the record in the 4x4. Am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. Yep. To see that was amazing. And then for him just to disappear, it was very unfortunate. It was crazy. The timing was crazy. Very unfortunate. Upset to hear about it. And I'll let y'all go forward on it.
Yeah, I find myself saying this often on these podcasts. Disappointed dad feeling, man, because he had done something we hadn't seen at an HBCU. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before, like to that level that they were doing it. Like national recognition, like I mentioned earlier, competing for a national title with just sprinters, and then to see what we got a glimpse of what he could do on the professional level. We knew he was, he was A1, he was a 43 second quarter miler. So I just wanted to see what he was going to do. And like you said, Jason, right before World Championships, just disappeared, and then come to find out because of doping ban. We've all had that disappointed feeling where we didn't quite get someone we wanted to get to see, someone we wanted to see perform, whether, maybe because it was an injury. Okay, I get that. Injuries happen. But then when it comes to like doping, it's a different feeling. It's like, oh, come on. Why did you do that? You're not questioning an injury, but when someone does something like that and you see the potential in their upside, and you really want to see these people perform and have success, they get banned for something like doping. It's the same feeling every time. Just very, very, very disappointing. So I hope he's, gotten it together. I believe actually he did run at a meet in France in the summer. So he's technically back and he's performed. But I just want to, hope he does the right thing. Even though I don't like the whereabouts thing, but that's what you signed up for. So you gotta do your whereabouts meetings, and just stay clean and perform and get back to that Randolph Ross that the Randolph Ross that we know we got accustomed to. We want to see.
I look at doping violations a little different now, specifically the whereabouts. Mm-hmm. Speaking to former professional athletes, I understand how difficult it can be, especially with the miscommunication between the governing bodies of the anti-doping, like WADA. So I understand how difficult it could be. So I don't really be quick to judge. But this one was a little different for me. It was multiple whereabout failures, and then to doctor up a email,
testing email
makes everything look like you're guilty. And I wasn't there. I'm only going based off of the facts that were given online. And then to violate after all these performances. The reason why I'm disappointed is not because of just some doping violation. It's because as the sport, the fans don't really believe people who run fast anymore. In the back of their head, everybody's doping. So when somebody like this, he just won the NCAA title in the 400. They won the NCAA title in the 4x4. He was on Team USA's 257 team, him and his teammate, Trevor. And then you have a doping violation and you get suspended right afterwards. It makes you think that everything that you accomplished, everything you done was done dirty. There was something with his father. I didn't even read about that, but there was some article about his father, with the anti-doping agency. So, I'm not sure if this is a bigger thing than what it is, but, people really, if it's truly an accident, look, you represent more than just your school. You represent everybody. So we look at people like that, and, we're in our 40s now. So it's like, I don't look up to you, but I look at you as a guy who represents a place where I came from. I was highly disappointed. And so coming back now, it's going to be harder for him to come back and really have the people to really believe in him, because he's going to get some boos over in Europe. They did. Justin Gatlin got booed every single time he raced over in Europe, because after he came back, they never really believed him.
When he beat Usain Bolt and got won the world championship.
That was the last person that the world wanted to beat Bolt. Was Justin Gatlin. Yeah. So
100%.
I want the best for him. I want him to come out there. I want him to do well. He represents the United States. So obviously I want the best guys on the team, but he has a lot to prove, and he needs to be transparent with his training, what he says. I need to know that you're apologetic when it comes to this issue, and also take some interviews. You don't have to run your mouth to the point where you're saying stuff that you're not supposed to say, but I need to know that things are going well in camp. I need to know that you're human, or that you're compassionate, and then you go out there and do your thing. So that was my thought on it. And I hated that it had to come from somebody from the HBCU. But
yeah, man,
if you take that suspension out, I mean, this man was one of the best in the world, and he came from North Carolina A&T. So I'm going to pretend like none of that stuff happened, and he's still a HBCU representative to me. I'm just looking forward to his performances.
Do you think he can get back to that level? Because he just to give you a side note, the meet he ran, obviously, he just came back. I'm sure he's been training, but obviously he didn't run any competitive meets. He ran like 46, I want to say, or 45.6, maybe 45.6 in the meet he ran. I think it was in June or July. Do you think he has the ability to get back? I think he's 24 now. I mean, that's not old in the track.
Yeah, that's super young.
Yeah, to get back to that 44 form.
I think he can. I mean, 24 years old, like you're like going into your prime years as an athlete. So he has youth on his side. He's not in school anymore, so he can probably train without the pressures of grades. He can have more of a professional type of training. I think he'll be fine. My thing is, it all depends on the usage. Was that affecting his performances? We'll know moving forward, because he'll probably continue to run 45 seconds, but he's either going to plateau and kind of stay around the 45 range, or we'll see him, hit that 44 mark and where he's supposed to be at. And we'll see. I mean, I think to answer your question, I think it's possible. And I think youth has a lot to do with that. He's not an old guy, and I'm pretty sure he hasn't been sitting in the garage all day throughout the last 3 years. He's been training. So he's probably in some decent shape, but he's probably can't wait to come out and actually run with some real people.
And my thing with individuals that actually get, serve a suspension or get banned and then come back, along with wondering if, okay, so that's the reason they would run these fast times or whatnot. I thought about Justin Gatlin like this. I thought about Tyson Gay. I felt the same way about him. When they came back, always in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, they're back. So obviously, they served their time. Guess they're clean.
Yeah.
Are they really though? You know what I'm saying? Like I always in the back of my mind, like, are they really? He's gonna have that label over his head, at least with me personally.
Yeah.
When he comes back, especially if he starts dropping some fire times, start going 44 or sub 44. I'm like, did he really learn this lesson? Is he really 100% clean? But we'll never know.
I hope you watch.
Yeah.
Any last takes?
I think I'm good, man.
I'm excited for. All I can say, I'm excited for indoor. We've been talking track through the off season. We got these podcasts for the off season. Now we got NCAA's and the pro scene coming up next month or so, maybe 2 months if you're looking for the real pros. But I'm looking forward to it so we can talk about it and give our takes.
No, obviously I'm looking forward to Mr. Quincy Wilson. I can't wait. Even this upcoming senior year, I think it's going to be insane. Just to think that he's still a senior.
Like when we were talking about him earlier, and I had caught myself. I'm like, oh shit, he's still a senior. He gets a whole another year before going to Maryland.
A whole year.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to his indoor season. I think we're going to see some crazy stuff there. But more importantly, because I've been at Penn Relays his entire career, I cannot wait. This whole Jamaica it's not even Jamaica versus Bullis. It's like Jamaica versus Quincy. And every single year, it's like they know he's there. And I think he's also elevating Jamaica. Jamaica's always been solid. They've always been solid in the boys 4x4. You can't take that away from them. Matter of fact, they've been so dominant. The first USA team that crosses the finish line, they get an award. That's how dominant they are. So I'm not taking away from them, but they recognize how great this guy is. So when they're running, you can even see it when you're there. You can see them, they can feel this presence there. So when there's a gap and they know that Quincy is going to get the baton, they're not scared, but they know for a fact he's there because he's going to close that gap on them. And he's done it every single year. All Bullis needed to do was give this man just an opportunity, man. 1 year they dropped the baton and gave it to him. He had too much to cover. The following year, too big of a gap. He had to split 43 seconds. They went 3:06.
Crazy.
And he split 43. 43 seconds in high school. So, I've already got my tickets renewed for Penn Relays. I cannot wait. Absolutely. I got my tickets.
I'll pull up with you this year.
I just booked my room a week ago.
Oh, you ain't playing?
Nah. Look, that's my thing. I do wish that they go back to the USA versus the world format.
Yeah.
I think they are dropping the ball. I don't think we almost need to protest over there. I think it was that big of a thing. Adding all these other events, they got the Open 4, the Open 8, the Open 6, the Open 300. I don't care for none of that stuff. I want to see USA versus the world. And that's it. Back in the day, the best athletes ran. It wasn't just, Usain was there. Gatlin it was showing up. All these guys Michael Johnson used to run. More Green. Yeah. All these guys were there. And that rivalry with Jamaica was some of the best track that you can see. It's definitely missing that. And I just want that to come back. I don't care what type of sponsorship issues they have. Like, do this for the people. Don't do it for business. Do it for the people, man. Like, this is the type of stuff that attracts people in track. And I'm not saying that the athletes that go to Penn Relays is bad, but you'll see, and not to keep talking about this, but you'll see last year, Team Jamaica was just a shell of itself. There was nobody on there that I knew. And they were getting tore up by these other nations, but we all know that wouldn't happen if the 4 was there. So I would like to see a change in that. But to answer my own question, I'm looking forward to to Quincy. I'm looking forward to the indoor and the beginning of outdoor. And yeah, I just can't wait.
Let's go.
And real quick, I know we ran a little long, but no, I didn't think about that. I want USA versus World come back too. Like you said, like it not only just from the fan aspect, but it was televised. It was visible. And y'all know I'm big on that. I think we all want to see more, track and field on television. And it wasn't like this was like a small meet. I think a lot of people know about Penn Relays. So if they heard USA versus World or Penn Relay is going to be on NBC at such time on Saturday, folks are going to tune in. So when they pulled the plug on that, I mean, I think the only people that broadcast pans is streaming. It's I think FlowTrack, and you might have to subscribe and pay for it.
Yeah.
Unless you wait later on the day for highlights on YouTube. But when they pulled that plug, man, that was semi-devastating for the track and field world. Like I said, I hated that they did that. So I'm with you. I hope they bring it back too.
Absolutely. But that's going to wrap it up for this sixth episode of the Trackfellaz. And like we always say, every race has a story and every runner has a journey. Thanks for watching.
Peace.